I'm Alan Seals, your friendly neighborhood meteorologist who woke up one day to Reddit calling me the best weatherman ever. Ask me anything.
Given your expertise in meteorology, can we ever have a Sharknado?
Ha ha. Tornadoes have moved over water to pick up little things like frogs and little fish. Theoretically it's possible in a very small area if a heen tornado were to move over a shallow beach where a few sharks were hanging out. But I wouldn't lose any sleep over it.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
What do you think of the practice of making weather reporters stand outside in storms?
There's a line between when it is helpful to the viewer and when it is plain dangerous.
I grew up watching Tom Skilling on WGN, and always loved his detailed, non-sensationalized delivery of the weather. Are you guys best buds or mortal enemies?
I worked at WGN from 1992 to 1997. With Tom. I only see him in person every few years. Based on the space between us, we're not best buds, but we are definitely not enemies. Mutual respect and admiration. Even here in Mobile, all of the weather broadcasters get along. We all have the same mission.
What is commonly misunderstood by the general public about meteorology that you want to correct?
People expect precision in a forecast that just does not exist. While they look at pixels on smartphones, we know a lot about weather but not everything. Rain chances are also misinterpreted, but they are also used differently around the country and world. A low rain chance does not mean that it won't rain. And a high rain chance doesn't guarantee that you'll get a lot of rain. I use rain coverage rather than chance since my region gets rain on almost every summer day.
Have you been doing the weather like this all the years but Reddit only just found out? I'm only asking a question because the rules state I have to ask a question. The real reason for writing is just to say you are absolutely fantastic. In the UK, legendary weathermen such as Michael Fish and Ian McGaskill were also hugely popular.
Yes. I've pretty much had the same style for all 30 years of my career. Thanks for the compliments.
Which reaction from your studio was your favorite after your video went viral on the internet?
They gave me a trophy, but someone also printed a t-shirt with me on it.
Is there anything that you feel is most important to have do in a broadcast? How have you refined your craft throughout your career?
Most important is honesty and perspective. I try to sharpen my weather skills by going to conferences and my presentation skills by looking at what other non-weather presenters and performers do to hold their audience.
When does your day start and end? Are you at this station for 12 plus hours a day?
Sometimes it feels like 12 plus hours. I work 8 hours a day on paper, but my work starts at home before I get to work and it ends at home after work. When weather is active, I easily work 1011 hours at work.
What is the longest stretch of time you've ever been on air at work to cover a significant weather event? And what was the event?
Both for Hurricane Ivan and Katrina. As a news station and weather department, we broadcast for over a week. Fortunately, we had lots of breaks in our weather segments. During the landfalls of both of those storms, I probably did a few 20-minute weather segments solo.
Do you have any number one dad mugs in your kitchen?
A couple.
If you weren't a weatherman, what career would you have and why?
Second career choice would be as an educator. Third career choice was a musician.
What are your thoughts on using confidence intervals with weather forecasts? Why aren't they used more?
Those are good. I think it's just taking the entire profession a while to embrace them, as we figure out how people interpret them.
Have you considered starting your own YouTube channel to explain the same for big weather events globally?
Not now. Since I work for a TV station full-time, I wouldn't have the time or energy to do that.
Do you know Pete Delkus? You're the best weatherman ever. I think he would make a great vice best weatherman ever.
Yes, I know Pete. The meteorology community is relatively small.
How does it feel getting this amount of recognition over something you've been doing for so long? What is the best piece of advice you can offer to aspiring meteorologists or educators? We appreciate you recognizing this community and thank you for taking the time to answer our questions. May your future bear greater success.
Thanks. The attention is nice from the standpoint that my mission has always been to educate and entertain some. I do this as a part-time college professor too. My best advice is put yourself in the seat of your audience. Throwing facts at them is not teaching. Make it interactive and fun with energy and enthusiasm and real-life examples. Interactive on TV is answering the questions people want to know, not what you want them to know.
How do you foresee the rest of hurricane season going? Namely for the Gulf Coast?
I honestly don't look that far out. The ingredients for hurricanes change week by week, so I only look about 10 days ahead at a time. In that time, I don't see any threats right now.
What made you want to be a weather forecaster and how did you go about becoming one?
I grew up with just a simmering interest in weather. Things like how you could have hail from a summer thunderstorm and lightning from a snowstorm. I was always a natural performer, so I was able to link my love for weather with my talent for performing teaching. I went to Cornell to get a BS in meteorology, and then to FSU to get a master's degree to make sure I really knew what I was talking about.
Tornadoes can spawn quickly during a hurricane. Do these type of tornadoes tend to be less capable of being long-track tornadoes? Or does it just depend on the storm system? Thanks for doing this. There is much love for you in Pensacola.
Just from the tornadoes we had here in Hurricane Ivan, they were not long-track, but it definitely would depend on the system. Thanks.
Do you ever talk to John Ed Thompson, the old Fox 10 weather guy?
I haven't seen John Ed in a while, but we certainly talk when we are in the same room.
1. What is a weather event phenomena that you want to witness someday? 2. What is the most memorable weather event that you have reported on? 3. Pineapple on pizza? YN.
I'd love to see a tornado in the open plains where no one is at risk. I've seen funnels and water spouts, but never a tornado, in part because I go to work when there's a threat of one. Ivan and Katrina were both the most memorable events of my career. No pineapple, just cheese.
If Ted reached out and asked you to give a talk, would you do it? What would you talk about?
Sure. That would be fun. It would be something weather-related.
What is a cool meteorological fact you know?
There's really no new water on Earth. It just cycles and recycles through the ground, oceans, air, and our bodies.
War Eagle or Roll Tide?
If I answered that, I'd lose half my viewers.
Hi Alan. You and the rest of the WKRG weather team are the reason why I prefer WKRG over the other stations in our viewing area. I'm glad the rest of the world now knows of and can appreciate the work that you and the rest of the team does since you're internet famous now. What are the chances that you might make an appearance at a comic convention? If a convention like Pensacon reached out to have you as a guest, would you accept it? I'd love to sit in for a meteorology panel hosted by you. I think it would be a great experience.
Thanks for the words. I regularly go to 2 weather conventions and 2 journalism conventions each year, and I get invited to many more. If my station were to give me the time to do so, I would. Weather is universal, so it applies to everything.
This is a 2-part question. What is your most defining moment in the meteorology field, and did you ever expect to get so much more love than even James span?
Hurricanes Katrina and Ivan were defining moments. I know James. Good guy. There's more than enough love to share.
Would you rather fight one Irma-sized tornado or 100 tornado-sized Irmas?
I'd run. Either way.
Has anyone actually figured out what is going on during a jubilee? I've heard it's not enough oxygen in the water. I've also heard it's not enough oxygen in the water. I've heard it's dependent on the weather. What do you think?
A jubilee is what we in the Mobile Bay Area call a phenomenon wherein a quiet weather pattern controlled by high pressure, a very light wind over a shallow bay or lake pushes the top layer of water away from the shore. That carries oxygen away from the shore, leaving the fish and sea life weak and disoriented, left to suffocate. People then go out in the water and gather up as much as they can.
Thanks for your great explanation of the hurricane. It was truly beneficial. What would you suggest as the best path for a young person interested in meteorology to obtain a job like yours?
Check out the resources from 2 organizations that I'm an officer of: American Meteorological Society, National Weather Association. They both have lots of career links.
If you had the honor to name a hurricane, what name would you give it?
That's a tough one. I wouldn't want to name it after a person since those storms can be pretty bad.
What measures could coastal cities take to be better prepared for more frequent and damaging hurricanes going forward?
It takes a lot of thought and research into not only what extremes have happened in the past, but what could happen. For cities and families, you have to project how you will grow in the future, and when you invest in your infrastructure, go for the long term rather than short term. Even though it seems like it will cost more upfront, you end up saving in the long run.
What is a common misconception about your profession that you would like to address?
That we guess at the weather and are wrong half the time. People focus on the one forecast that didn't turn out the way they expected, where they live, but they take for granted the overwhelming times that forecast's right on target for an area, not their house.
What's your favorite sandwich?
Probably BLT.
Your favorite local sandwich shop should add a new Allen special. Bacon, lettuce, tornado. Hi, Alan. During the coverage for Irma, lots of reporters, meteorologists were out in the midst of landfall. Some struggling to stand and others tied to hotel balconies at the same time telling viewers to take cover. What are your thoughts on reporting live in dangerous weather conditions?
I don't want to do it. There are safer ways to do it. On the other hand, people who are not in the path of the storm sometimes watch it for the spectacle.
1. Did you ever think anything like this would happen too? How did your co-workers react? 3. What are you planning to do with your newfound fame?
Never in my wildest dreams would I have anticipated this. My co-workers were really excited. I plan to keep on keeping on.
Would you consider yourself the Bob Ross of meteorology?
I just consider myself me.
1. Is climate change causing hurricanes to cause more damage too? Where is the evaporation compared to the rainfall in a hurricane? 3. Why isn't there thunder and lightning in a hurricane?
The earth is warming, but before you consider that population density in front of hurricanes is so much larger, with people in the US that have more stuff, and bigger cities. So that even a medium hurricane will cause a lot of damage and headache. Evaporation and then condensation is what keeps building the clouds so it's around the hurricane. But also in the midst of it, hurricanes tend to not have very cold air above them, and that's part of what leads to differences of water droplets and ice crystals in regular thunderstorms. You're right, they tend to not have a lot of lightning, but they do have some, and the new satellites are showing it to us.
I hate that I have to say this, but the following is an honest question. Please, read it. Don't hate me for asking an honest question, since this is a perfect opportunity, and a lot of the early discussion was about the word. What was your own personal reaction to being called articulate as an African American?
I chuckled when I was called articulate, since most broadcasters are. It's possible that some of the people meant I articulated a thought well, more than my presentation was articulate. Either way, I don't think it was ill-intentioned, but some people of all races are surprised when they see or hear someone who is not the stereotype of what they expect. I was raised and trained to be articulate and intelligent. All of my African American friends and family are, so it's nothing unusual to me. I've been lucky to grow up, go to school with, and work with a diverse group of people. Everybody holds biases from personal experiences, but I start my day as a human being.
What made you want to study meteorology? Was there a specific person or event that triggered your love of weather?
No one thing or person got me interested. When I was in high school, I really thought through what I could do to always have a job, and I came up with my fascination for weather and ability to teach and perform. Since everyone needs weather information, that makes my career pretty good. Thank you. Thanks for watching our videos. We work hard to make sure you keep coming back for the content we produce. And if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe our channel. We would love to hear your own stories in the comment section below.